Okay. Well, Eric, we obviously don't know what Kentucky's going to do today, but they've had a pretty historically bad season by their standards. What's your take on Kentucky and going in there to Rupp, where a lot of teams have beaten them this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kentucky's capable of beating any team in the country. They're long, they're athletic, they're excellent shot blockers. They play hard. They're really hard to score on. Their defense is really, really good. They do a great job of protecting the rim. Those are initial thoughts. And again, I don't know for sure, but it seems like they're getting a little healthier, but that's just from reading stuff on the internet.
So are you preparing for, the usual Kentucky and not the bad Kentucky, I guess, or whatever?
No, I have great respect for Kentucky. They've had a lot of close games that could have gone either way. They're a young team, and with young teams, sometimes that happens. But they're overly talented. They're very well coached. Like I said, defensively, how do you score against them is something that you've got to talk about. They have some really gifted individual offensive players. And, again, when you watch them every night, I mean, they're in every game.
And I heard on the radio yesterday, you said Desi couldn't lift his shoulder. I guess, what's his injury exactly? And could you give us an update on Desi and Jalen and Justin and I guess Moses' ankle too?
Yeah. If we had to play today, we start practice in 28 minutes. If we based on yesterday, if we had to play today, I would assume Desi would not play. I would assume Jalen Williams probably wouldn't play. And if he did, it would be for, 5 to 10 minutes like it was last game. But he would, his mobility would be hampered. I would think that Justin would play. And then Moses did, Moses seemed to be moving better yesterday, than prior. So I think he would be fine.
Based on that, is there a silver lining? I know you want to play today, but based on your injury situation, is there a silver lining to not play until Tuesday? And could you anticipate being back, having all those guys back and ready?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Bob. I mean, I want to play today, for our players and so frustrated by that. Just because no one knows what's going to happen next week or the week after that or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, we're even having some injuries, I still wanted to do everything possible to play a game today. And so did our players. Unfortunately, that did not happen. And we're still practicing, Bob. So I don't know how much, I guess, the guys sitting out of practice, I guess they'll, but some of the guys are trying to fight through some stuff too and want to keep their rhythm. And that's always when there's a jolt in the schedule. How do you stay fresh? How do you not, lose some of your rhythm,
Okay. Thanks, Eric. I got a couple more if Mike can get back to me, Thanks.
Nate.
Mute this. There we go. Eric, is there a tendency for teams to prepare for Kentucky one way just because of their history and the aura about them than other SEC teams?
No, I mean, I think as a coach, your prep is the same. I think that when you say the words Kentucky, I don't have to oversell their talent. I don't have to oversell how hard it is to go into their building and win. And our players are smart. They understand that. They understand, the level of McDonald's All-Americans or the level of their talent. So I think from that aspect, maybe Nate, it's a little bit different. But as far as the number of baseline out of bounds plays that we're defending, the number of half court plays that we're defending, and the themes that we're trying to come up with, with their top 3 or 4 players, I think all those things remain very, very consistent in our approach.
Also, with Devo and Desi's situation, are you pretty comfortable with starting him again, considering the way he's played?
Yeah, I think that, for us, we've changed our starting lineup a lot of times based on matchups, a lot of times based on, injuries as well. Who we start Tuesday is way to be determined right now, Nate, because we haven't had everybody at practice the last couple days, and our game plan is still evolving as we go through some of their sets and look at how, plan A, plan B, and plan C on how to defend some things. So, not sure who will start, but certainly Devo's done a great job continuing to develop during the course of this season.
Thank you.
Hutch.
Yeah, Coach, with Desi, I think after the game you called it a stinger. Is that what he's dealing with? Is it a stinger?
I guess, Hutch. I mean, medically, I'm pretty bad, but the only thing I've heard is stinger. So I can't go off anything other than that. But we have been doing a lot of 1-minute shooting where we try to break up the monotony of practice, and we'll do a defensive, station, 3 or 4 defensive stations, and we'll break it up and just say 1-minute shooting. Everybody will go to a basket, try to get as many 3 balls as they can in 1 minute. We've been doing that, since we've been working on this prep, and he's unable to shoot. He goes off to the side and shoots, what you would consider, 1-foot baskets with his offhand. Just, I don't see him down there today, so I don't. But the trainer's not worried about anything being structurally damaged, I guess, to answer your question. So it's more pain tolerance and a stinger for anybody in any sport. Those things hurt. I guess that's how they get the name stinger.
And then also about Kentucky, you talked about, preparing for their 3 or 4 best players. It looks, looking at their numbers, I've got 5 guys averaging double figures, but none over 12 points a game. What's kind of the top guys you're worried about?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's, the post-ups are always a concern because they have really good length around the rim. Transition defense, you want to get back and try to limit their transition baskets. BJ Boston does a great job of kind of bending screens. They run a lot of down pins to try to get their shooters. He does a good job of semi-curling for his mid-range jump shot. So I guess those are, some of the things. They'll put in some pick and rolls. Olivier Saw is a pretty good passer when you do kind of come down there and double team. So those are just, some of the things that we've discussed over the last, and it'll continue to build, obviously. Tomorrow would be a normal, prep time for us. So, we're slowly going into their stuff and trying to clean up, a lot of things that we think we need to improve it, on our side of the ball, both offensively and defensively, irregardless of who our opponent is.
Curtis.
Hey, Coach, slightly off topic, but still relevant. I've seen a couple of reports since last night about the SEC kind of planning to move ahead with the conference tournament as normal. I know there's been a lot of debate as to, whether or not those should happen or what the format should look like, if teams might opt out. I was just curious what your thoughts were on all that and kind of where you stand.
I think it's pretty obvious, Curtis, that I want to play I wish we had 30 games instead of 27 by the NCAA. I wish we would have started on time and not pushed it back. I don't know what pushing it back did. I mean, I have no idea. Football was playing. I mean, why was it pushed back? I mean, I have no idea. Other sports are playing. All of a sudden we decide we're going to push it back 2 weeks for what? So I think we owe it to the student athletes to have as much normalcy as we can, to play as many games as we can. There's players across the country that came back to play college basketball and didn't go pro to play on a platform. And so it's deserving for them to have a conference tournament because that's part of college basketball. I'm glad we're having one. We're looking forward to participating in it. Again, I think everybody, I want to play today, and so certainly I want our players to be able to play in a conference tournament. Don't take that intensity in that answer personally, Curtis.
Oh, no, not at all. I know it's been a hot topic.
Scotty?
Coach, since he came back from surgery, I think Justin is second on the team in assists in that span. I'm wondering what you've seen from him, in terms of his vision and, just setting up teammates for solid looks.
Yeah, I think, Scotty, that's a great, observation, or it's really not a question, but because it was a great observation on the ball movement. What we found when he was out, obviously the natural thing when Justin missed those games was he gets the top of defensive assignment for whoever we're playing up front. He's a great offensive rebounder, should be a dominant defensive rebounder. But what goes unnoticed is, like, when he's in that trail spot, he just naturally is a ball mover, and the flow of our offense moves much, much, much better when he's on the floor. He understands dribble handoffs. He understands making a pass on a dribble at back door. He understands that the ball's got to get from second side to third side, and the ball does not stick in his hands. So for all those reasons, Scotty, we're much better offensively when he's on the floor. And we're trying to play through him a little bit more offensively too, I guess, because of his ability to be a willing passer.
Nikki?
Yeah, Coach, Kentucky will be coming into the game having played like 3 ranked teams in a row, and you guys get this weekend off. Like, how big of an advantage is that? And then also to be able to see these guys playing against the best in the conference right before they play you.
Yeah, I mean, they've had a really tough schedule for sure. And I mean, again, Nikki, I'm as concerned of us being out of rhythm more so than who Kentucky's playing today. Most of those teams, well, I guess Missouri and Bama and Tennessee, we went through that stretch as well. Where we played them and then we got it coming back up with some of them as well. So, that's kind of how the SEC is. There's in my opinion, there's a difficult game almost every single night. But I'm a little concerned just with our rhythm without playing, today. And, we're not able to scrimmage with all the bang ups that we have and the injury. So I can't go simulate a game today with our players because we just don't have enough able bodies. And so guys that are sitting out when we do our drills and our Kentucky specialty stations, yeah, I'm concerned, that they're not getting live action against that stuff. Maybe more so, Nikki, than Kentucky's difficult stretch from a schedule standpoint.
Bob?
Yeah, Eric, you kind of hit on it there, but you guys obviously, you've won 4 straight SEC games. You played well at Oklahoma State. So is there a concern that with a week between games, when you're not used to having a week between games, there's a rust factor, I guess, or an out of sync factor, whatever you want to call it?
1,000%, Bob. We're healthy in the pandemic sense. And so when you want to play. We did everything we could from our end to play a game today, even with all the injuries. I mean, it would have been a great time for someone to play us on today. Would have been great because we don't know I don't know who we got available today in practice, but unfortunately it didn't happen. And so, yeah, I am concerned because we're a little bit out of rhythm and not playing the game. And, it's hard to get a team overly excited to practice, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, although we took Wednesday off, but that's a long stretch. Even if we would have played, on Wednesday, it's a shorter turnaround, Wednesday to Tuesday, but this is a long stretch, for a team to have practice. I mean, we're not a football team. We're not accustomed to having this much time between games.
And then, you probably know this, your UPS motivational talk, I guess you got on ESPN. And I was wondering what you thought about that. And where'd you get the UPS gear? Did you just get some brown shirts and sew UPS things on them? And where do you get your inspiration for? I'm guessing you probably do that every game, and we just see bits and pieces on Twitter. But is that something your dad did? Is that something Chuck Daly did? Where'd you get the inspiration for that? And kind of, do you think it's effective? I assume you think it's effective, or else you wouldn't do it.
I don't know how effective it is, Bob, but like we try to come up with a theme every game. And those pregame things happen at the 40-minute mark. They take all of, as you've seen, they take all of sometimes 30 seconds to a minute and a half. But I believe that if you want to get a message across to your team after you've talked about it for 3 or 4 days in practice, how do you kind of release the tension in the air? I wouldn't do those type of things at the 12-minute mark because it's too close to tip off. In Golden State, we did it in the NBA just because there was 82 games, and I thought it broke up the monotony, and it was pretty funny. One game, I think it was about the 13th or 14th game into the season, we had played a back-to-back game on the road. I didn't have anything prepared. I didn't have any props. And one of the players said, "Coach, we're not going out for layups until you do something." And it was at that point that I'm not going to say the player's name, but it was a disgruntled player who wasn't playing a lot. And at that point, I kind of, chuckled and said, "Hey, these guys kind of get a kick out of it." But to go in and just say, "Hey, rebound," I mean, we're just trying to come up with something that loosens the atmosphere and that they can have a little bit of fun with. And you're right, you don't see them all, but there is a prop or something that's funny, we would hope, just to grab their attention. Yes, my dad did do a lot of that stuff. Doc Rivers was phenomenal doing pregame speeches. He loved to intertwine boxing, whether it be through video, splicing boxing clips in, or going through the history of a particular boxer. And as a player at the University of San Diego, we did not have any of that stuff. And I basically was like half asleep every pregame talk. And so I just kind of feel like this is something that can jolt them one last time and maybe give one last message. How effective it is, I don't know. But I do know some guys like it and get a kick out of it. Some guys are probably rolling their eyes thinking, here goes Coach doing something silly and stupid again.
Hutch.
Coach, last month you had said that Bebe might be ready sometime first week or two of February. Is he getting close to being cleared?
Yeah, Hutch, he medically, he's close, but they still want more strength. He's able to, like yesterday, some guys played 3-on-3 post practice, with contact. He was able to do that. I just think from a structural standpoint, the doctors and the training staff still feel like they would like to continue to work on his mobility and strength. We were hopeful, maybe mid-Feb that he would be able to. I think that's probably pushed back now to late February. And then at what point do you, just continue to let him rehab, So I would say, nothing in the foreseeable, next 2 or 3 games. Maybe after that, if once he goes back and gets evaluated again, maybe something changes, but probably not.
Kyle.
Hey, Coach, I think fans look back on that game last year against Kentucky, and, Calipari gets ejected. The place is going berserk. It's one of the better atmospheres probably in years at Bud Walton. Is that a game that kind of pops in your mind, now and then, especially as you get ready to play them again?
Yeah, I think the atmosphere, the sound decibels in there, the atmosphere pulling into the arena, student section was insane. I think all those things are, what we remember. I think last year we played a lot of close games that could have gone either way. One loose ball here or there. Certainly that was one of the games that we went through that stretch where, we could have won a game with an extra defensive stop or an extra made basket. But I don't think it has any, bearing at all on this game. We're playing, a road game instead of a home game. Both rosters are almost completely different. So I don't think there's, much carryover, going into this game.
Final question, Jerry Tipton.
Yeah, Coach, I wondered, you mentioned about hoping to see improvement both offensively and defensively. How so? Where would you like to see that?
You mean as far as from our perspective, Jerry?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, I think there's just like with everybody. First of all, Jerry, we did this press thing early because we knew you'd be busy later tonight covering the Kentucky game. So
I appreciate that.
I think defensively, you always, no matter what team, no matter what level, you always want to get better at your pick and roll coverages. There comes a point in time where do you add another coverage that maybe people haven't seen? Offensively, I think every coach is constantly trying to get his team to move the ball, to pass up a good shot for a great shot. And then I just think from an identity standpoint, how do you, whatever strengths you have on both sides of the ball, how do you continue to accentuate those strengths and maybe hide some of your weaknesses? And then how are you tweaking your schemes to maybe hide your defensive weaknesses or matchups that might cause problems? So I think all those things, we want to continue to get better at.
And I also wanted to ask you about Connor Vanover. How has he played for you guys, and what sort of matchup issue can he be for an opponent?
Well, I think Jerry Connor's done a great job, all year for us. There's certain matchups where he has a bigger impact, in certain games, and he's unique. He's an excellent shot blocker. He's done a really good job rebounding around the rim. Obviously, when you look at our team last year, playing guys that were, 6'6" and below, we have a different look, throughout the course of the game with Connor in the game and Jalen Williams. Those two are a little bit different. Jalen more physical, Connor longer. So I think that it just gives us a few more options inside wise. And then our offense, again, I told all of our local media that when Connor's in the game, the ball moves a little bit better and the floor is spaced out because every team has to have their center or whoever's guarding Connor, they've got to respect his three-point threat. And, I think his percentage is down a little bit because so many teams do respect his three-point shot and centers aren't standing in the lane, giving extra help when Connor's out on the perimeter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Have a great weekend.